Tell stories that are believable. Don't repeat those jokes you heard about a horse walking up to a Texas bar, or that one about Jesus and Moses on the golf course. Anecdotes about the great and famous rate the best. It doesn't matter if your anecdote doesn't trigger gales of laughter, because a colorful insight into a historic personality is always entertaining. If, in your talk, you'll be discussing different approaches or alternatives, try this one. During a tour in Canada, Churchill attended a reception and found himself seated next to a stiff-necked Methodist bishop. A pretty waitress appeared with a tray of glasses of sherry. She offered one to Churchill, which he took, and then presented one to the Methodist bishop. The bishop, aghast at being offered alcohol, said, "Young lady, I'd rather commit adultery than take an intoxicating beverage." Thereupon Churchill beckoned the girl. "Come back, lassie. I didn't know we were given a choice." And the story's easily relevant. Almost every talk involves choosing the right course for the future. But if your company doesn't wish to change direction or course, this Churchill anecdote is apt. In 1900, the 26-year-old Churchill, after just being elected to Parliament, made a speaking tour of America. In Washington, he was introduced to a majestically endowed woman from Richmond, Virginia, who prided herself on her devotion to the lost cause of the Confederacy. Her family were Southern Democrats who'd opposed the Republican policy of Reconstruction. Anxious that Churchill should know her sentiments, she remarked as she gave him her hand, "Mr. Churchill, you see before you a rebel who has not been reconstructed." "Madam," he replied, with a deep bow that surveyed her décolletage, "reconstruction in your case would be blasphemous." Churchill once observed, "Anecdotes are the toys of history." Since toys are fun to play with, try playing with some anecdotes to liven up your presentations. Maybe your company faces new problems because of a recent law enacted by Congress, or some new bureaucratic regulation. You might, for example, recount this story about Benjamin Franklin. Before our Constitution in the 1780s, the United States was floundering in debt. One day during this period, Franklin entertained Dr. Benjamin Rush and Thomas Jefferson. The conversation turned to determining what was the oldest profession. Dr. Rush, a physician, said the oldest profession was his. After all, it was a surgical operation that made Eve out of Adam's rib. But Jefferson, who built Monticello, said no, it was the architect. Surely it was an architect who brought the world out of chaos. Then Franklin replied, "You're both wrong. It's the politician. After all, who do you think created the chaos?"